care. I'm still free. You can't take the sky from me. Take me out to the black. Tell them I ain't coming back. Burn the land and boil the sea. You can't take the sky from me.
Unit heading up to the code 3 chase. Suspect was last reported southbound on Highway 99.
Can you give me more info on that call? Just clearing another call. I'm headed over there. Closing fast on a vehicle that matches the description. That reported party? All units go to condition 2. Piled into a rig. Stand by.
This is an emergency broadcast to all frequencies. Survivors in the Pleasant Valley region should make their way to the whitelisted server of Tranquility immediately. Server admins are standing by to monitor your activity. Watch out for increased levels of cooperation amongst various native inhabitants. Warning, the H1Z1 infection is at an all-time high. To protect yourself and your friends, gang violence is acceptable, but rule violators will be shot. Repeat, rule violators will be shot. The Pleasant Valley Board of Trustees on Tranquility welcomes all newcomers and would like to remind everyone out there in the wasteland to stock up and stay vigilant. This concludes the emergency broadcast. Tranquility for all, peace for none.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Whiskey Gaming. We've got Matterall here, who agreed to fill in last minute like the big guy that he is. They hate everybody, Matterall.
Hello.
Since they
Not
said
that
there's no fun allowed when you're not here. When you're here, sorry. That's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. We have lots of fun.
Didn't know it was a buzzkill.
And we've got Matterall across, or not Matterall, sorry, McLeod across the pond. I've already had a little too much whiskey, so we are whiskeying today.
I would not have known. I would not have known. Hey everybody, by the way.
So we're gonna have a little fun today. We got some things to talk about. I'm gonna try and be really tricky and display some things on the screen. Probably I won't do that as good as Matterall does on a regular basis, but I'm gonna try. So we'll see. So how's everybody doing today? Everybody on the stream good? How's everybody here? Matterall, McLeod, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Over the pond, it's fairly warm actually. It's getting, strangely enough, where our summer's now not, July, August. It's now August, September seems to be. So, doing good.
Yeah, same here.
Getting cooler over there, and where you are, or is it still just wonderful and all the girls are in shorts and bikinis?
Oh, it's wonderful.
I'm talking Matterall. Matterall's in bikini land. I don't know.
Oh, right.
Nobody wears bikinis in England. Come on, McLeod. What's your ocean water? 50?
Yeah, well,
Do they even wear bikinis?
That's France. Be careful.
That's France. Yeah. I work in an ad agency, so it's pretty hard sometimes walking down the hallways and trying to be an adult, but you got to do it. So.
Yeah, we're getting a little cooler weather, but it's going to warm up again this weekend, so that'll be good for the nice long weekend. You guys all ready for the long weekend?
I've already had my long weekend. Our long weekend was the last
right.
weekend.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I keep forgetting. McLeod, you should have just come over with the US.
We are a week in the future over here.
Yeah.
Are you actually England, McLeod, or are you?
Yeah, I'm from just outside of London.
All right. I always forget because I talked to Ryan, who's an editor for TMC, and he's from near Australia, and he's always like 24 hours ahead or something, or he's in the next day anyway, all the time that we talk. So I'm always talking to him from the past. You kind of
feeling like I'm talking to somebody in the future. This is like some weird sci-fi stuff going on right now.
Totally, yeah. This guy knows more than me.
And for those who are regular folks that tune into the show, Bill and Mill are sequestered for the Pretty Little Liars season finale, apparently. So if any of you are missing the Pretty Little Liars season finale, you got to tune out now and go watch the show. You're gonna miss it. It's I hear it's fabulous or something. I don't know.
Literally torpedoing your own kind of viewership.
I don't think so. Unused something just gave us a follow, which is a great segue into reminding everybody, hey, if you're here, you're gonna watch the show. Please shoot us a follow. We love follows here at TMC. What is that?
We definitely do.
Castile or something. And if you want to support the channel, please do subscribe. We do appreciate that, and you're always welcome to donate to the show. We use all donations to this show to buy swag. We have no swag because we're out of money. So we need some money, buy some swag to give away to you guys. So it's kind of like, self-taxation in order to have a chance to get your money back. But some people like to do that.
What kind of swag do you have normally?
We don't get any money, so I think we have $20 to buy some swag. I want to buy something really cool. I will actually probably buy something or a gift certificate or something to our sponsor at Digital Blasphemy, because we have a lot of people that like the artwork, and that's the artwork in the background. So that they are one of our sponsors here, and they do some cool stuff. So that's awesome. I want to get a little money. I want to give away something nice, like for our 50th show or something like that. I don't even know how many shows we've done.
Yeah, you're pretty consistent, actually. When I look at TMC, you can look at the past broadcasts. You guys are always there, which is really good.
Yeah, we try to be. I think we took 1 week off when I did vacation, and that was only because we really couldn't get the whole XSplit to work on Billy's computer and everything that we do. So I think that's the only week we've missed.
It's not easy, and I feel very culpable because I've missed a few shows, and even last week's show was missed. So it's not easy to do that, to be consistent. It's not easy.
No, it's not. It's like you come home, it's like, hey, I've got my second job. I got to go do a cast, right? It's but it's fun. I like talking to the people in the stream, when they're chatty. 2 shows ago, they were very chatty about the games they were playing, and it was great conversation. So out there in the stream, do not be afraid to start talking about games you're playing, even if it's games we haven't played, because it is something that we can all talk about, and we do enjoy it. So yeah. So Unused Castile, our latest follower, thank you very much for that follow. That is very nice of you. Again, donations always accepted, as well as subscriptions to the channel to support all the streamers, because it's not just our show that streams. If you haven't been on this channel before, there are a lot of streamers. Matterall, you have a show of your own. That's Friday nights, right?
Yeah, it's normally Friday nights around this time. It's called Talking in Stations. It's about EVE Online and the news that happens inside of it. We try to gather people who are observers and veteran players so they can interpret the kinds of things that are going on. And we usually try to get guests that are primary sources so that we can break out their story. I think you'll find a lot of times that the people who are actually making things happen in EVE are not very good at the public relations part. And then you'll find that there are people who are really good at writing or podcasting or just talking about what's going on, and they're mostly observers and stuff like that. So we try to get a mix of both. So that way you hear it from the people who are actually doing it, but you also hear it from people who analyze it from afar. Because the fact is, the game is too big, nobody knows everything, and there's always missing pieces that are caught by other people that aren't directly involved. So it's a good mixture.
Yeah, I mean, it's EVE really is a wild game, and to date, as much as you will hear me nag at CCP quite often and take little pot shots at them, it is still my favorite game.
It really
Great. Is. I mean, I enjoy playing H1Z1, obviously, McLeod, because McLeod and I do the Undead Zone also Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern here on TMC. But yeah, I mean, I like that, but EVE's my first love.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us, because we're brainy game players. But this is my first show ever with McLeod, and I actually only met you in a couple meetings, behind the scenes. But you've done a great job. I know you've stepped down from being the lead on H1Z1, right?
Well, I was kind of I was essentially Spanx's kind of deputy, I'd imagine. I guess, like he pretty much ran the show, did the call the shots kind of thing. I made sure that everything was, you know, I kept him up to date as to what was going on, made sure that what was decided upon was enacted. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then just dealt with any kind of personal issues, any kind of any issues that had to be dealt with at that time, rather than waiting for him to have to rule, decide on which direction he wanted to go on it. But essentially, yeah. Kind of after he stepped down, I was kind of feeling the same thing. After about a year of doing it, I'm like, I need a bit of a break. So
yeah, but I haven't let him have a break.
No, and here he is.
You've pushed me into a different side of H1Z1 where I'm still doing stuff.
As long as you're having fun doing it, that's good, right? If you're not,
yeah, I mean, it is fun. It is challenging. Like I'm having to deal with a whole bunch of whole bunch more people, different kind of personalities, and like it's interesting from a social aspect, and from a it's a different way of looking at games, I guess.
Yeah. It
is very much so. And I mean, talking about H1Z1 that McLeod and I are very involved in, there's hopefully we'll get a new wipe soon with some patches that we've desperately need. We're also trying to get some more codes for the Tranquility server because people are demanding those, so hopefully we'll announce that those are up soon. And McLeod and I think we're trying to bring on 2 more admin, right? And we'll have 2 more admin soon, lighten that load, so that'll be good. Because I don't know if you know, Matterall, we have our own whitelisted H1Z1 server for only people who have keys can come and access it, so it's kind of a fun place.
Yeah, I did hear about that, and it's kind of interesting that it's kind of like H1Z1 wasn't able to quash the cheating, I guess, well enough, and so you guys decided, or maybe these are 2 things that were separate, but they seem to be together. Oh, yeah, okay.
You're right on.
You guys decided to say, you know what, we're going to do it. If they can't do it, we'll do it. You guys put up a server. You said nobody's going to cheat on this server. You guys are going to play the game the way it was meant to be played. And you guys enforce that pretty well. And I was playing with Discord because we use Discord for the community now, and anybody can jump on Discord and join up and hang out basically and play these games. And I was in a room, I think it was the lobby, and in pops this guy.
You just went robot on us, Matterall.
Oh, sorry. I was in the lobby.
Yeah, that's about right where you.
Okay, I was in the lobby, and the guy who was moderating for TMC was very patient with this guy who was really upset, and I just saw the whole conversation evolve. And it was you, McLeod, now that I remember, was trying to calm this guy down because his friend had been kicked for cheating, and you were explaining why that was the case and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's actually the most popular thread, I think, on the forums.imperium.news. Which is, for everybody who doesn't know, is the Imperium forums for all the games we play, Arch Age and Eve and everything, right? You can go there and talk.
And people should know that we've created 3 different sites, and there will be a 4th soon. And that is the Discord, where people communicate and play games together. And then you have, we've created a Reddit site for people that way, but we've also created forums. I was involved in the creation of all these things. And the forums is where, you have community development and stuff like that. Again, for all the people that play games together with TMC guys. The 4th one is going to be a new news site that should be coming out very soon.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
I'm very much looking forward to that.
It'll be great. So the number 1 thread on the forums is the ban list. So we don't ban without video evidence. So you can go actually watch people cheating on H1Z1 and go see exactly who they were and why they got kicked.
Yep.
Oh, that's really cool.
There is no gray area.
Yeah, we had up until fairly recent. Well, I say fairly recently, like up until about 2, maybe 3 months ago. Like we were very much under the assumption, well, kind of under the sort of opinion that banning people and making those bans public was kind of quite harsh to people, and not harsh to the people who actually did the wrong thing, but harsh to the group that they were associated in, right? So you would normally, when someone gets banned and people found out that certain people got banned, they would ignore the name, just go for the clan tag, and just be so hateful, so spiteful to that clan on any and every kind of media that they can get their hands on, right? Including in game.
It'd be horrible.
Yeah, it is horrible. But like, eventually we got to the point where like people don't realize that we're doing stuff, and they need to know that we're doing stuff. And the best way for them to know that we are banning people and know that we are not being biased in any way, shape, or form is to be 100% transparent, 100% clear with what we're doing, who we're banning, and how we're banning, and why. And that's why it kind of came about.
I like the idea of the video because it's kind of like surveillance footage.
Well,
here's you robbing the six-pack out of the 7-Eleven. We caught you.
And by the way, I mean, we'll just pick somebody and go watch them, right? I mean, there's no rhyme or reason sometimes, and you'd be surprised what you see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, holy crap, he just actually did that, and I have it on video. He's gone. I didn't.
So, and sometimes you can even preempt it. Sometimes people get themselves into a situation, and you're just like, you know what? If he's going to do something dodgy, he's going to do something now. So you can almost preempt it and kind of start turning on your recording software and just sit back and roll and just watch someone completely screw their game up.
It's amazing. I mean, you wouldn't believe it, Manero. It's great. So we're completely off script because we didn't intend to talk about any of those things. But you know what? They're all good things to talk about, and that's one of the things about this show. We're allowed to change what we're talking about, and that includes in the chat if somebody brings up a game or something in a game that they want to talk about, we can do that, right? And we just go with that flow because it's more about the audience than what we care about talking about, really.
Yeah, we can riff it.
Yeah. So there is one thing. Let me see where I got to find my show. I've got like 8 million screens.
There's a couple of talking points that we have.
Yeah,
there's a bug in here.
No Man's Sky refunds?
Yeah,
sorry
about that.
Yeah.
Have either of you played No Man's Sky yet?
Sorry?
Have either of you played No Man's Sky yet? Did you buy it or anything?
Oh, I wanted to. I opted not to. It was too colorful for me initially.
It is a tirade of color. I haven't played it personally myself, even though I'm like what, about 50 kilometers from the actual place from the developers that actually made it. But yeah, it looks good, and I've watched a fair amount of gameplay kind of videos on YouTube with it. Yeah. So
I guess there were 12 developers. Is that right? It's a very small number of developers.
It's a very small team. It's a very small team. Yeah. To make what they've made out of just from 12 people is quite amazing, because you see other developers making games that aren't anywhere near as large, and they have hundreds of people, literally hundreds of people. They
clearly developed an infrastructure. Like, they didn't paint all the pictures; they created a formula to paint the pictures.
Yeah, they created a formula to paint the pictures, and kind of at the moment they're getting a lot of stick for that formula being not complex enough.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me, if I could, we're jumping all over each other because we haven't learned our own rhythms, but it seems to me like the real problem for them was expectations were too high. Like, the game itself isn't that bad, but from what I've heard people who played it, but they were expecting to be able to see other people and to play with other people and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Skeptic is saying in chat that he did refund his. And he just wasn't happy with it, but it looks like Buff Fresh kind of liked it. So,
well, that's a funny strategy, saying I'll rebuy it later, because they're pretty much assuming the price is going to drop because, of course, people are not playing it. Interesting tactic. I was thinking of buying it on PS4 because I have a small 8-year-old that would probably probably enjoy it. His expectations would not be the same as mine, coming from an Eve background where things are complex and people are very participatory. I wonder how he would like it. He might, but it's just not in the cards right now. I need his attention focused on other things, and I'm not, I guess, willing to jump into it. One of the problems with these games is there has to be an investment to them. If it's not exciting, there has to be some investment to it, kind of long term. Yeah. And it seems like if there's not a lot of people in it, the investment goes away. It's kind of like any kind of stock.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because I continue to pay CCP for Eve because I'm invested in the people that I play Eve with. Not necessarily the game. You know, it has very little to do with the game and much more with, hey, I'm doing something with my buddies, my online buddies, right?
Yeah. It's but that's where you put your money, because that's where your investment is, and that investment is still positive. You still think it's going to be good. You can come back into the game when you want. I mean, it's not like you've written it off and said, oh, Eve is dead and it's not even worth playing, so I'm going to just cut off all the money that I've spent towards it. That's, I think, when a game is in real trouble, when people feel like everybody else has given up on it. And that's probably why people get really mad when you say, oh, this game is dying, especially MMOs, because the collective unity of people is what is worth investing into. Your social network there and your friends, and even just the idea that there are other people playing the game. So if you exist in it, you exist with other people. That's a very strong connection. It doesn't have to be your friends. It just has to be. When I came into Eve, it was just like, I'm just going to do my little thing here in this system, and I know there are big things happening out there, and I just want to do my little thing, but I love being connected to stuff that's huge, even though I had nothing to do with it. But take all that away, and you're in a flight sim, and it's no fun because there's nobody around, and the life of the game goes away. And so I think No Man's Sky has that possible problem. If people feel like there's no life in the game, that it's really just pixels that kills the game.
Yeah, when you talk about No Man's Sky, and I'm in the closed pre-alpha for, and we had a gentleman here a few months ago on the show for Planet Nomads, and they just started their pre-closed alpha, right? And it reminded me of what people were telling me No Man's Sky was, except you don't fly from planet to planet. You are marooned on a planet. Eventually, you're able to gather enough resources to build a ship to go to other planets and visit them, and eventually it is supposed to be multiplayer. It's not multiplayer now. One thing I noticed is they've got a great building system that probably just needs a few tweaks and it'll be phenomenal. And they've got some really interesting stuff and concept. They got a nice solid base. The quality for a pre-alpha, I was really impressed with. Now, they haven't put things in like the animals on the planet. You know, you can pretty much build and drive around. But, hey, you're pre-alpha, but it's solid. And when a game is solid, it makes all the difference in the world, I think. I think Eve is a solid game, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, despite all the complaints about it from people, yeah, it's very solid. Were you talking about Starship? Star Citizen or whatever?
No. It's Planet Nomads. It is
Planet Nomads.
Yeah, there's about I think there's 2,000 or so folks who got access to the pre-alpha released pre-closed alpha, pre-alpha closed. Yeah. I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
You know, I will say one thing that's interesting is I've noticed in my corp we have some people who are coming back to Eve that haven't played since 2006, 2007, maybe 2009. But really old guys, like they missed a huge amount. And there's like 5 or 6 of them coming back. They're not friends or associated with one another. And then I've heard from other people the same things happening in their corporations. So I was wondering why veterans would return now, because the war is over, right? And all that stuff, all the stuff that was exciting for Eve is kind of dwindled. But
hey, we're at war. We're having excitement on our side of the fence.
There's still definitely wars going on.
I mean, we're walking through Delve. You know, that's, hey, walking through Delve. That could be a good song. So, hey, song guys, walking through Delve.
Well, but to finish, I think it was because of No Man's Sky didn't deliver. That's kind of what I think. So then people take a second look.
Why would
I
they
don't
come
know,
back from 2006? So it's like 10 years ago.
I kind of feel that a lot of people left Eve because it became stagnant. There wasn't really much to do. There wasn't really much change, much kind of, much dynamicism in the game that they kind of felt maybe. I mean, I think a lot of people have kind of returned to Eve to some degree just because of the fact that, someone took, a collective group of people, decided to take the, the game and turn it upside down, and sort of completely rewrite what people generally kind of thought about, or what people generally believed to be, the status quo.
So you think that
when
the
that
war?
happened, I think the war
break-
kind of did bring a lot of people back purely because it's a complete change. It's like starting a game afresh kind of thing. It's kind of like a new take, something new, something fresh, something interesting to do.
So you think it is a byproduct of that big fight? Like it's still that momentum going?
Part of me thinks yes. I mean, I may be alone in thinking that. I don't know, but I mean, I came back into playing Eve after a year and a bit not because of my corp doing the same thing, but because my corp, going through transitionary periods and changing and new interesting kind of gameplay kind of opportunities kind of arising from that. So
I think you're onto something there, because we can talk about the boosting and buffing and how that's changing in a few minutes. But if you saw that fight in SH1 where you had CO2 get like 10, 12 Titans tackled, to have them, I know it was a big loss for them. They lost 6 out of.
I heard they won.
It was a victory.
It was a victory.
Good.
No,
They saved four Titans. They won.
4 that were trapped, and I'll tell you why that was a win. Because if you saw the techniques they use to free Titans that otherwise in any other time in the game would have been demolished, it's really impressive how the game is changing, that you can actually escape using tactics. They used, I think they were command destroyers, right?
Yeah, they were pushing the bubbles back off them.
That's a tactic that couldn't have existed before this new command destroyer came around. Plus, they were really doing a lot of like coordinated work to like escape. So the half the story is that they got whomped. The other half is, wow, they didn't get fully whelped. So I thought it was interesting, and I think boosters are going to add to that kind of gameplay.
Yeah, I'm kind of quite interested in how the boosting is going to be changing, mainly because one of my characters is like almost primarily a booster. So like I still want, like, I mean, he's a T3 booster as well. Like I think he does have the skills to run command ships, but like, I mean, I'd need to invest a bunch of other stuff for it. But just kind of looking at how you can kind of repurpose those characters, those T3 kind of off-grid boosting characters, into something that's worthwhile with the new change. I think it's actually I think there's an avenue there for it.
Yeah. Do you want me to pull up the warfare, the link changes? Because I'm gonna pimp TMC's site when I do it. So
Why not?
Let's pull that up here. Look at that. Look at that. Well, that we had a beautiful article. You can catch that at thematani.com. Written by what is that? Seika Stevens? Is that how we pronounce that, Mataro?
It is, I believe so. I haven't actually talked to him. Wow, I like the way it rolls in too. By the way, it's very nice. Yeah. It was initially written by him. It was an assignment that he took. Thank him very much for doing that. He put together some bullet points, and it was a relatively short article. And then our editor Arendis, who's also a writer, got hold of it and really expanded on it in a big way. Nice. And then ultimately. When I read through it, because I'm supposed to be responsible for all the Eve content, I wasn't exactly sure what I was reading. So then I made some changes to like try to make it more readable to to give a little bit of backdrop. And then I went back, looked at the dev blog, and put in some more bullet points to kind of flesh out some of the more interesting points there. But the point was not that the article was not missing something, but it takes a big effort to get you an article like this. It took 3 people to do it and stuff. And so I think when people are like, why aren't we getting 4 articles a day like this? It's just not that kind of writer capacity to put that kind of stuff out.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's a huge hassle. I mean, I keep, promising you an article eventually someday. It never comes. Sorry.
Okay. This is my 2nd appearance on your show, so someday you got to pay me back.
So I owe 2 articles. So yeah, I'll tell you what, the thing that I don't like in this list is down lower, actually, and I can't highlight it, but it's the 2nd bullet from the bottom here, the end, right? Regardless of the module type, you will no longer give boosts, and they're not going to refund. Boosts? Yeah, you're not going to refund the leadership skills that you spent training, right? To me, that's a naked attempt by CCP to say, go use skill extractors if you don't want to use those anymore, and reallocate them yourself at a loss, or sell them on the market, right? And I think that's a poor way to handle it.
Yeah, I see your point, but I also, if I could give some pushback, I don't think the alternative is to refund those skills to senior level players. Those are the ones that have the alts. And that's like, I think that whole branch is about 15 million skill points.
It's a lot of skill points.
Yeah, it's a ton of skill points that you would give on the whole, right? Because they take one away and they give you one. Right now, if a character that's high level or whatever were to get skill injected, he would get it at 1/3 the value, or even less, 1/8 the value.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just 15 million that you can gain back. It's like 15 million whole SP points. So that's a big shift. But let's face it, a lot of people didn't really have these skills on their mains. This is usually an area where an alt, a boosting alt has those skills, or their super cap alt has it, or their mining alt has it, or something like that.
Well, and here's the thing, right? So where I have it on some of my characters, right? My main has a lot invested in here is, the leadership, the wing command, the fleet command skills, right? Now affect the radius of area affected by the command, right? They don't really matter anymore in the chain.
Well, they still matter for who you can have in a fleet, like they always did. I don't think they're taking that out. We're just talking about the boosting.
Yeah, but they're not they don't matter in the follow down the boost, right? You want leadership 5 in your squad command slots, right? So that everybody properly gets the boost. Now you don't need that, but they're not going to refund it, right?
Well, the other kind of thing is like a lot of the people who run, run an alt boosting, tend to run it, using like a cloaky nullified T3, right? So you kind of have to think, well, would CCP have to sort of think whether they want to also, refund people's T3 their T3 skills? Like, so where does it kind of end, in that kind of sense? Like, do you just get rid of the command skills, or do you get rid of the command skills and the T3 skills? So, Well,
if I were making a case, I would say I picked up these command skills to be able to boost, and I no longer like your boosting, system, so I want those skill points back. Because that what feels unfair, probably, and Eric, you can correct me, is, hey, you promised me one thing and now you're switching it. And that's not fair, because I invested 6 months, of my training time that I could have put anywhere else. So why don't you give me that option back and let me put those skill points, the 6 months worth of skill points, somewhere else where I want to put them.
I spent 6 months and paid you over $100 to train those skills.
Yes, and now you've changed it on me, and that's not fair. On the other hand, the game is always changing. Like, there is,
And historically, they have given you those skill points back.
Have they? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's just recently that they've got a little stingy with it.
And you think if it's because, buy more skill injectors.
I clearly think it's monetarily based. I do with CCP. Because they're not making the money on the subs. They're making their income right now on the art and the other things that they're adding into the game.
You mean by art, you mean skins?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely. And the other thing, just to take you in a tangent a little bit away from this is, if I have 6 accounts, if they wanted to make, I want to make the game marketable and appealing to people, right? So when I look at the fact that I have 6 accounts, I really don't care that I can train one character on one account. I'd really like to be able to sit there and say, I can train 6 characters. It doesn't matter what account they're on.
Yeah.
And if I had 2 accounts, I should be able to train 2 no matter what account they're on. I think CCP does things, and I think this might be an example. And by the way, I don't necessarily hate the new boosting. I do hate what they're proposing on the Titans, the area of effect like a wormhole. Okay, so when you're talking area of effect where you're actually boosting your enemies, that's just like the stupidest thing you can inject into a game as a mechanic. And doing stuff like that, I think, is detrimental to the game. Making things overly complex, right, or overly complicated. You can make things complex in the game, but don't do it so much that you turn 50% of your audience away, your proposed audience. I think this is one of those things.
I don't know. I'm not sure about the Titan kind of whether the Titan sort of changes go to that kind of level of extreme. But I do like the fact that they are giving an actual reason for Titans to be there, rather than just to be in a system, if you know what I mean, or sort of around.
I mean, they have an interesting effect on the Titans, and I like the area of effect. What I don't like about the area of effect is that it will boost your enemies. Why would that ever even happen, right? No other booster on the field is boosting your enemies. But for some reason, the Titans do.
Well, I think the reason there is that, they're changing it to not be command bursts, but they're changing it to be like a wormhole-esque effect kind of thing. But, you can kind of tailor that to, that's another one of the things that I kind of like about this, is that you can tailor that to whichever fleet doctrine you're using. If it's a case of, you're, basically planting the flag and saying, here I am, come get me, and the hostiles are using largely sort of skirmishy kind of kiting kind of setups and stuff. You can push through boosts that will positively influence your fleet but negatively influence their fleet. It's not going to be something, these boosts can kind of, when you play them right, can affect you positively, affect your enemies negatively, even if they are hit by the effect. So it depends how you want to play it.
I think they're designed to. It's really interesting because this is a new thing in EVE. I haven't seen this before, but you have a ship doctrine, right? Like you have an armor doctrine, and let's say you have an Amar battleship doctrine, which is slow and uses a lot of capacitor and that sort of thing. And if you bring an Amar Titan with the right racial, wormhole effect thing for the Titan, boost for the Titan, you can enhance your slow battleship fleet. And the fleet that you're fighting, say, is a Kaldari kiting fleet that relies on speed, is affected by the wormholes that the effects that favor your style of playing. So it's actually going to be doctrine versus doctrine combat, because if the Kaldari fleet has their Titan, and their Titan is a Leviathan, it has its racial, increased speed and lower armor and buff shields, then you have those 2 worm effects. Sorry, I keep calling them wormhole effects, but those 2 effects are actually kind of fighting each other in the backdrop of this fight where two different doctrines are fighting. And I think it's a different level of strategy that hasn't been there before. The closest thing I can think of was when people lived in certain pulsars, because they had certain favorables to their style of playing, and that's why they made those popular homes, and they used ships accordingly to those benefits and stacked all that stuff up and stuff. But that was always one-sided because one wormhole had one effect.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's one thing which I kind of hope isn't going to actually occur in these with, the utilization of these things, is that, stacking is done correctly, and that there's no, kind of horrendous bugs in it. Because what we don't want is, we don't want someone to be able to, or a group to be able to literally, go from one place to another place to another place, basically reenacting the whole negative turret tracking issue that we had in those magnetars.
No doubt.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because that would just absolutely obliterate so many different people's play styles and people's ability to, or desire to want to sort of even take a fight.
Yeah. I'm a simple guy. I look at it this way, right? And by the way, I'll this is where I'll just I'll beat up on grayscale and jump fatigue and all that too. There's no fundamental reason in jump fatigue that freighters are treated differently than dreads and carriers and everybody else, right? There's no fundamental reason why they have a 90% resistance. If you could build it into those ships, you could build it into the other ships. This is the same way. There is no fundamental reason at all, ever.
Well, there's a gameplay reason, but there's not
there's a gameplay reason, but the law, there's no law reason, and even even the lore aspect of
again, I'm a simple guy. There's no logical reason.
Yeah.
There's no logical.
Well, there's no logical reason inside the confines of the lore, of the backdrop and the logic of the universe.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. But that's true for a lot of different things that they haven't quite explained very well. Like, the gameplay reason is because you cannot cut off nullsec from JITA. That's just will cut down PvP dramatically. Now, I actually thought that was a bold idea, and it was going to be amazing to cut those places off, because then they would have to recruit people to come and mine and resource and stuff like that. Like, it would force those people to do that. But instead, I think what they figured out was, no, nobody will live in nullsec. They'll all come to, low sec or something and start, fighting there instead, which is kind of partially what happened. Even though they didn't nerf logistics, they only nerfed combat ships.
Yeah. And Klaatu is kind of saying if they remove the leadership still, and they're still going to use it in a way. I mean, they're using those skills. They're just not benefiting you in the same way, right? So if you've trained your leadership skills and you're not a booster, you're just a guy that gets into the wing command or into the squad command to trickle the skills down. Now they're useless to you, right?
Yeah, as far as like operating a fleet, I mean, we didn't really talk about what's in here. We assume that everybody else read the dev blog, and hopefully you did. But essentially, all the passive boosts that you used to get, those are the ones that are now gone. So you're either using your skills to form fleets as far as structure goes, how many people you can fit in your fleet and how many wings you have and stuff like that, or you're a dedicated booster and you have then additional advantages with those same skills. Mm-hmm. But the passive stuff that you should just have, like plus 2 bonus to armor for whatever, just for having the skill, that is gone.
Yeah.
I do think that with the changes to these effect to the leadership skills and the boosters and stuff like that, I think we are going to see more doctrines that are pure command ship doctrines, literally to hide the boosting ships in the mass. But the other kind of thing is I also still kind of feel like there's going to be ship, sort of boosting ships that are operating to a degree like slip repeats. If you guys know what I mean by slip repeats.
Sure.
Like, basically, warping, while the fleet's actually engaged, warping into the middle of the fleet, boosting, warping off, and rinsing, repeat, sort of thing. I do feel like that's going to be still a thing.
Well, I think there's going to be huge outcries from the Rorqual crowd, right? Because Rorquals are already useless enough. They've really made them entirely useless in nullsec. So,
yeah, the thing is, people think of the boosting in terms of combat because that's where a lot of boosting was important. In fact, you don't get a nullsec fleet out on the field without boosters assigned. So this is you don't go out without boosters. But there's also the mining part of boosting, which is to boost the yield of the rocks that are consumed and the speed of the lasers and things like that. And so, yeah, the Rorqual was delayed from any major changes until they could fix the boosting aspect. And so now we're actually seeing for the first time what they have in mind with the Rorqual. And aside from the panic button, which is the pulse-activated Nexus Invulnerability Core, which is nice, we're getting back to old-style names.
Crowbarring that in, just somehow.
Where you basically freeze everybody into safety for 5 minutes while you call for help. There's mixed feelings on this. Like, there's a lot of people who think that's enough time to get help, and other people who think that help will never arrive.
I just genuinely think that that Rorquals are just going to be used as the go-to super cap escalation Sino. Like, you drop a Rorqual in there, he Sinos in, hits this panic button. You have a 5-minute Sino there where you can bring in, super caps and capitals in without any, issue of that Sino being, basically black.
Destroyed, yeah. 5 minutes of free Sino. But do you think that's, has that been talked about yet? They still have, by the way, even though they presented us with this devlog, they still have 3 other devlogs to go. The third one of those, not the fourth, but the third, is going to be all about the Rorqual. And I don't know if they've decided if a Sino can exist with that stasis. It may negate the Sino. I don't know.
I would think you would have to negate the Sino.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we can think about that they can do, but they haven't really given us all the details yet. So all the feedback is important for them.
Yeah, think about this, though. I offhandedly said you'd have to negate the Sino, but in nullsec, if you don't allow the Sino, you can never ask for help.
It's true.
It's hard to get help in there.
They're putting a heavy tank on that thing, too, so you can light the Sino and resist as long as you can, and then hopefully you guys make it in by then. Or you can press the stasis, pause everything because you're in a shield that's impenetrable, wait out 5 minutes while your guys assemble, and then when it comes off, boom, you light your Sino and your guys jump in.
Yep. I mean, it's there. I'm not sure I like the panic button.
Well, the other kind of thing that they have is they're also introducing a new industrial command ship called the Porpoise as well. Not much has been, as far as I can tell, has been said about it. I guess bearing in mind it's an industrial command ship, it's going to be kind of like either a variant of maybe the Orca or maybe some brand new kind of thing. But
looks like the Noctis I've heard that uses the body style of a Noctis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, I mean, if it's
I heard that. I'm not sure that's the case, but
if it kind of provides the same sort of bonuses as, like a Rorqual in industrial mode, then, or at least 3/4 of it, then
it does much weaker. I believe like a Rorqual is a plus 5% per level. The Orca is a plus 3% per level, and this new ship Porpoise is like a plus 1% per level. So you get like a plus 5 using it.
Did you say the pork bus?
Porpoise. Porpoise.
We're gonna bastardize that.
Porpoise. If you're French, porpoise.
To the Marconius.
Potpourri. It's pronounced potpourri, guys. Come on.
Yeah, but that's the new industrial ship, and it's built to kind of go out with frigates basically, and just be a faster moving thing, so you don't have to. They'll be easy to build. There'll be thousands of them. They'll get killed all the time. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But there is. I know the Goon Swarm is using a ton of mining ships to build up their ADMs.
No, that's a lie. We're not doing that.
To make a defense. I'm not in Goon Swarm. I can talk about this stuff.
Complete lie. I don't know where you're getting your information.
This is something they declared. I mean, Matani came out and said this is something we're doing, and but basically, they're using a lot of mining ships for building the defenses of the area they live in, which would be Delve right now. And it's working pretty well to get those ADMs up to their max. They're able to do that with enough people out there mining. Now, I don't think they're going to want to have anything to do with these boosters, right? Because boosting doesn't help your ADMs at all.
Yeah, it doesn't help your ADMs. It just helps your yield, and ADMs aren't subject to the yield.
So yeah, there's no role for them to play in that sort of. Because then you can see people saying, "Hey, that's an unfair advantage for building up ADMs, as these boosts make it go faster, et cetera, et cetera."
Right.
But I don't know.
Well, they do make it go faster, but I'm not sure how ADM is calculated. I don't have enough info on that.
That's a good point.
They do make your cycle go faster. Just bad. Somebody's going to take that out of context.
I don't know I don't know how they rate ADMs. It's how they actually calculate how fast these things go. It might be just a certain ticker. If you're doing the thing, it just keeps ticking away.
I would think that would be what they would do, not volume of stuff that you extract. Maybe number of people doing it.
Right. Well, who knows? Yeah.
Amount of time invested into it rather than the actual volume.
Yeah.
Yep. So the two things I don't like on this is, I don't mind the on-grid boosts. It makes sense. Mm-hmm. Although I really did like the challenge and the coordination of off-grid bids, off-grid boosts, because I think they added an element of interest to the game. On
you mean the little probing side game that happened?
Yeah, I do. And then the other thing was, I don't like that it's a burst effect, and I don't like the Titan effect area of effect that helps your enemy. I think in more cases than not, it's going to help your enemy. But I just don't like those two things. And I don't think that CCP can get it coded by November.
The one thing which I actually was thinking about in terms of the Titan effects is I can't quite see the utilization of a positive Titan effect to, kiting kind of fleets.
Right, because the Titan's so slow.
With the Titan's so, yeah, and Titans, by their sheer kind of, by the fact that they're so large, so massive, and obviously a single Titan on the field is like a huge target, right?
You're really not going to be able to coordinate that easily, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think you're more likely going to have, hey, I'm an armor fleet, and I'm coming up against a shield fleet, and the shield fleet's coming in with their shield boosts, and they're burst boosting, and your area of effect on your Titan armor boost, right? And the shield guys get the double boost. That's more the case that's going to happen.
I'd like to. I kind of wonder what would happen if you actually dropped, like, say, if you had because there's a lot of groups that are looking towards using shield Titan groups only, rather than armor kind of Titan groups, for various different reasons, tank and other kind of things. But I kind of wonder what it would be like if you dropped an armor group right on top of a shield group, and used specific armor buffing Titan effects that negatively affected shield Titans and shield supers. That might be quite interesting.
Looks like you got a question there, and
we do, and I was going to hit that. We only have 5 minutes left too.
Oh, damn.
So I'm sitting there going, I've heard CCP is going to remove the station in 00. Is that true? And I think that's their end goal, but I haven't heard really any actual talk about a timeline on that. I don't know, Matt or McLean.
Yeah, their ultimate goal is to make everything in the game destructible, which would mean that station as it exists, will have to go. Not planets or moons, obviously, but definitely anything that's built. So yeah, that's an eventuality. It's nothing that's going to happen, I don't think, within a year and a half. They will be phased out with plenty of time.
I imagine they'll probably use the same mechanic that they use at the moment with Citadels, which would be the asset safety one, which essentially, if it does get blown up, your stuff that's left in the station is moved to the nearest low-sec station.
That's just the carrot for the stick later.
Well, I think
using the Citadels, I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, right, and I think that's definitely the way they'll go. They will protect assets. You always want to protect assets, because people come back to the game and they come back to nothing. They'll be disappointed and leave right away.
Well, they won't come back to the game. Simple as.
Yeah, exactly.
CCP will never make high-sec stations destructible.
I don't think so, but you may see them. Actually, you won't see those replaced. No, those are beautiful big pieces of art. So
yeah, I think even if they did make it, I think they would probably make it so ridiculously impossible to be blown up because of all the, with Concorde and all the Navy fleets and stuff like that. But I don't think it would even be possible.
I think it would be really neat though if you could actually damage them to a certain point. For like a period of time. I mean, this is just lore-based fun. This is not real. This is not for the game. But
like,
if you could,
like driving a Nix into it, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Drive your Nix into it. There's a fire for 6 months, and they have that technology now with the new lighting tools they have to do more interesting stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So who knows? It would be interesting to see something like that. And the last thing I'll say is the thing about Titans is that they're supposedly, these massive objects that are as big as Manhattan or bigger that could actually influence tides on planets that they were near and stuff. I always thought it would be interesting if PI would change if a Titan was in the area, like the PI would go way up because the resources were just, shimmering up to the top or something.
Suddenly your PI that's producing heavy water just goes through the roof.
Yeah, totally.
There you go. I'm gonna pull this down so we have our beautiful picture. I think I love the concept of making high-sec 4 constellations total and making their stations destructible because there are certain null-sec entities that would just come in there and try and wipe them out. It'd be fun, and there are certain null-sec entities that would try and prevent people from having that type of fun. And there might be some giant battles.
Yeah.
Can I very, very quickly interject with one quick little side thing that I wanted to...
You have the last word, McLeod.
Nice. I don't know whether you discussed this on the last Whiskey Gaming show, but the recent kind of update and the sneak peek at Star Citizen. I heard Matterall talk about it a little while ago. Did you guys talk about it on Whiskey Gaming last week?
No, we didn't.
Oh, it's amazing. Genuinely, I'll quickly post the link in chat. It is amazing. Genuinely amazing.
Okay. We'll have to chat about that more next show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just watch it. Just watch it and your mind will be blown. It's cool. Definitely not looking like vaporware anymore.
Nice. Matterall, thank you very much for joining us this evening. It was greatly appreciated. It's always nice to have you on the show. You're
anytime, Eric. Thank you very much.
You are invited anytime. You are.
Thank you.
And McLeod, thank you as always. To the audience, thank you for participating. We really enjoy having you around. Again, subscribe to the channel if you want to support it. Follow us if you'd like to know what's happening with us. You can always follow us at Whiskey Gaming 69 on Twitter. Follow myself. Follow McLeod. Matterall, I'm sure you have a Twitter too that I just didn't put in your name.
Matterall 373.
Matterall 373. Thank you, everybody, and you have a great evening. And as always, enjoy a beverage and relax and have a good evening. Thanks, guys. See ya.